Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're just going to get started. Thanks for joining our What It Takes to Win Gold webinar today. So I'm Emma Hegel, the Director of Events and Experiences at the Canadian Marketing Association, and I want to thank you all for joining us. It is my 6th awards with the CMA, and every year I really do look forward to seeing the amazing work that comes in. In this session, we're going to talk about the different aspects that go into winning gold, and we're going to hear from some experts to help you gain further insights on creating gold winning submissions. Before we get started, while we're meeting in a virtual capacity today, I want to acknowledge the Indigenous lands on which we are grateful to work and live, the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas and Credit, and the traditional territory of Anishinaabe, the Wendat, and the Haudenosaunee. The territory is within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt, an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe and allied nations to peacefully share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. Today we are meeting in the place of Toronto, in home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island that we are so grateful to work on this land. Okay, so a quick agenda for today is I'm going to go over an overview of the awards, regular awards, special awards, premier awards, some important deadlines. We're going to hear from this year's co-chairs. We're going to hear from a past senior judge, as well as past winners from the client and agency side. So you're seeing all the different areas on, how to get that gold winning campaign. I'm going to wrap up with some steps to success, a little bit of a review of what, the celebration is like for awards gala. And then finally, we'll bring back all the speakers to do a Q&A session. So in regards to our regular main awards, you need to ensure that you're picking a category and a discipline. The category refers to the business sector, and automotive business, consumer products and services, and so on. And then there's the discipline as well, which again, you really want to familiarize yourself with the definitions of these disciplines in order to select the right one. Some of the campaigns have to be a certain amount of time, so you want to really make sure that you're reading it carefully to ensure it is eligible. And then we have our special awards and premier awards, which are free to enter. You'll see here that we have the Canada Post Direct Mail Award and a few others, as well as a new TikTok Power of Entertainment Award. And again, these are free to enter. And you can also duplicate your entries within the system so that you can have an ease to submit the same entry multiple times, and then you can tweak it depending on if it needs to be tweaked for the different sections that you are submitting it. In regards to deadlines, we opened up for entries yesterday on May 1st. Already have some in progress, which is great to see. So July 21st is the regular awards final deadline. August 7th, special awards deadline, and September 5th, the premier awards deadline. If you do need an extension, we always want to work with you. So, please email us at the awards at thecma.ca. There is an additional fee, but again, if you need a little bit of extra time, we can work with you on that. But, our judging does start July 27th, and we do need to review everything prior to going to that round. So that is why any that are submitted in that, extension period, it just takes a little bit extra heavy lifting for everyone. So, but again, we don't want to miss out on all your amazing work. Okay, with that quick overview, and I'll mention it later on as well, but there is an award submission guide on our website, which you can review. But we're going to hear from one of our awards co-chairs for 2023, Sandra Sanderson, the Senior Vice President of Marketing at Empire Company Limited and Sobeys. And while she cannot be here today live because she's in transit, she did record a message for all of you today.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the CMA What It Takes to Win Gold webinar. I'm thrilled to be a co-chair of the CMA Awards this year to celebrate the very best in Canadian marketing. This is the opportunity to reflect on your achievements and showcase your team's creativity, innovation, and hard work, to stand out amongst your peers, your competitors, and to gain industry recognition. The fact that you've taken the time to attend this session says you're already ahead of the pack, because you have produced outstanding work that deserves to be recognized, and you're willing to put in the extra effort to make sure your entry stands out. I always look forward to judging these awards and seeing how marketers from across the country rise to the occasion and showcase work that embodies creativity, boldness, and excellence to drive business results. I hope you enjoy the session today, and I hope to see you at the CMA Awards on November 10th, taking home a gold. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sandra, for sending that in. Now I want to introduce our other awards co-chair for 2023, Sabah Kwao, Chief Creative Officer at Cassette.
Thanks, Emma. I wanted to open with, we often make that offhand comment about these being interesting times, and they are interesting times. And I'm fascinated to see which kinds of campaigns break through, given the complexity of the marketing and communications environment that we're in now. I end up thinking about two big chunks of things. One, we live in a very increasingly fragmented and decentralized marketing and platform world. And in that context, how do we find brands still achieve reach, critical mass, which brands and campaigns become iconic and start to have an impact on culture? So I think there's a functional delivery in marketing, and then there are campaigns that rise above to become something else. And it's always fascinating for us to see as professionals, but also for the consumer to embrace some brands and campaigns that way. The second thing I think about is resonance. There isn't an executive team or C-suite that doesn't think about mission, vision, and especially purpose. And that sometimes means that they have to tangle with how are they seeing their consumers, how are they being seen, and still being true to themselves as a brand or as a company. And again, in these interesting times, I think it's become an additional challenge for marketing firms and for companies to figure out how to build and navigate their brands through that kind of environment. So these are things at the back of my mind about campaigns that transcend the functional delivery of marketing and message, that rise above commerce to become something bigger, and at the same time still bring together a sense of excellence and creativity and engagement in a way that consumers do enjoy as part of modern media and communication. I'm looking forward to this year's competition and celebration, and thank you for your time and attention.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sabah and Sandra, for lending your time and expertise to our awards platform and for those inspirational words. I know we've got some people listening that are certainly going to take that to heart. Okay, so and Sabah will be sticking around for the Q&A. So if you do have any questions, please pop them in the Q&A feature and we'll get to those at the end. So next up, we have Ben Tarr, President at Leo Burnett Group Canada, and a past senior CMA judge, and he's going to weigh in from the judging perspective on what judges are looking for those gold-winning entries. Welcome, Ben.
Thanks, Emma, and thanks so much for having me to the CMAs. It's a great award show, and I've had the pleasure of judging the show a number of times and love the focus on core areas of strategy, creativity, and results. You know, to win gold at the CMAs, you really do need the perfect written case together with the best creative materials. So how do you do that? I'm going to share some of the things I think about when putting together a winning case. and our team at Leo Burnett. They may not all be right, but hopefully they're going to be helpful to you as you embark on your cases. So the first piece of advice I'd give is really know your category. What is it the category is awarding? What are the critical pieces to success? For example, social causes is very different from business. So first off, really study the category, read the criteria. And if you can, I find it really helpful to review the past gold winners from those categories. Secondly, context is key. It's so important for you to paint a really strong picture of the issues facing the brand and the real problems the work is aiming to solve. Remember, the judge may have never interacted with the product or service, so giving them a grounding in the brand and category it lives in is going to be critical as you write the introduction to the case study. In the objectives, we often see laundry lists of things the work's trying to do. I would say be really judicial with the number of objectives you say the work was trying to accomplish. And most importantly, ensure that the objectives marry the results perfectly. There's nothing worse for us in the judging room to see an objective that's left without a result against it, which happens more often than you would imagine. Okay, so when it comes to the work itself, it really needs to be special to win gold. It's a big idea. It's an element of never been done before, great craft. These are all imperatives to having the work stand out in the judging room. You know, you can have the strongest results, but if the work isn't original or well done, the case does fall short. It's also quite normal for the judges to look at the work first, so ensure the materials are well put together and help support the written submission. And I know this is probably stating the obvious and people may give this one an eye roll, but the use of case study videos really helps with the narrative and offering the judge a shortcut to quickly understand the case and get their eyes on the work before they delve into the written submission. So really spend some time. We don't always get the privilege of seeing case study videos, and it's important that you put those together if you've got a chance to pick up gold. And lastly, results really matter. Knowing the work worked is really important in deciding whether or not the work is going to win on the highest level. It's also key to ensure that you show that the results are of the creative work and not something else. You know, there are many factors that can influence the success in market. So be honest about what, if any, other market factors existed. For example, a price promotion could have a significant impact on results, but knowing and sharing that allows you to build trust with the judges when they're interrogating the validity of the results. So those are the 6 things that I look for when we're putting together a case study. I hope they're helpful to you, and I wish you all the best in the submission in the coming show. Thanks, Emma.
Thank you, Ben. Some really great takeaways there. I love, marrying the objectives and results. I know people do go straight to the creative because everyone's curious to see, and then they go to the write-up. So thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Okay, so moving on, we are now going to speak with Jennifer Carley, Head of Brand, Enterprise, Social and Content at BMO Financial Group, and Shelley Brown, Chief Strategy Officer at FCB, who are going to speak to what it takes to win gold from that client and agency perspective, on that entry side. So, writing those entries, which I'm sure a lot of you listening here today are responsible for or taking part in. Hello.
Hello. Hello. Thank you.
No, thank you both so much for being here. So I want to dive in because I know we're trying to keep this nice and concise for everybody, but I want to start with, how do you go about getting a great entry? Where do you start?
Well, okay, I'll jump in. The first is the obvious, right? A great case, a great entry is built on a great idea. So you've got to start there. And part of it is being honest with yourself. Is the idea really great? Like, is it awesome? Are the results killer? And if they are, then awesome. Now the job is make a case that is as amazing as your idea. And when I say case, I'm talking about the written case and the case video, because it all applies to both. But here's the truth. Sometimes great ideas don't win. And usually that's because the case was boring or confusing or muddled in some way. And as somebody who's judged, like a lot of the people on the panel today, I've judged a lot of award shows. And every single case I have ever read includes the following words: objective and target and challenge and insight and idea and blah, 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 blah. What is special about your case? Don't be afraid to give it some personality, hell, some oomph. Remember, the judge has a day job, and it's not to judge these awards. They're going to be looking at a batch of a dozen or so. What's special about yours? Why do you love your idea enough to make it a case and enter? Why do you think it should win? Let that come through. Great cases fundamentally are stories, which means they have tension. They've got an enemy. There's a bad guy. Tell me who the bad guy is and how you defeated it. Build your case like a story arc. It's got to have a crisis and a climax and a ta-da moment. Do not try to bore the judge into submission. It won't work. They're not going to buy it. Before we write cases, I ask anyone who's writing a case to answer 4 questions. Question 1, what's your dragon? Meaning, what is the challenge? What was the thing you set out to do? What's the dragon? Number 2, where is the soft underbelly? Where was the dragon's vulnerability that you found? That's your strategic pivot, your insight. Then, how did you kill the beast? You did kill the beast. How did you do it? That's your idea. And then, how big exactly is that dead dragon? Describe the body. Once we have answered those 4 questions, we have the story arc. That's when we dig in and start actually writing the case.
Okay, Shelley, I have to jump in with a client perspective because I have just learned so much. Who knew? I have been so grateful to have been the subject matter or my brand to be the subject matter of so many cases, and I've just learned so much. Who knew? And I would say from a client perspective, I have the same philosophy about cases as I do about creative. And listening to Shelley, there were so many parallels and analogies around the creative process and the case writing process, right? Don't bore, don't make it engaging, figure out the strategic pivot. So very, very, very similar. And so I have the same philosophy from creative as I do to cases, right? I think I am really, really good at identifying big ideas. And I think I'm really, really good at creating the environment and for those to exist and nurturing them. Every once in a while, FCB will placate me and they will politely listen to my ideas. But generally, my role is to create the environment for them to thrive, and I nurture them. I take the same perspective in cases. I do not micromanage. I create I in the same way that I cannot create the creative, I do not create the cases. And so I recognize I create the environment for them to be written. And I recognize a great case and I support it, but I don't, in the same way that I don't get in and micromanage creative ideas, I do not get in and micromanage cases, because everything that Shelley just said is not a strength of mine. And so I leave it to the professionals.
Love that.
Can she spot a great idea?
I can tell you two have been working together, that's for sure. And you definitely can't keep it boring. These judges, like, was mentioned, they'll see through that. So you kind of talked about, working from that client side, but Shelley, how do you work with your clients when you're creating these entries so that you can share the results? Because I know a lot of people don't want to share those results, but it's only the judges that are seeing those details. It is confidential, which I want to say to everyone listening, because that's something that I get asked all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, no client wants to reveal a trade secret, right? No question about it. So the answer honestly is the same as everything else. Work together. When you're building, when you have an idea that's worthy of a case, that's worthy of entering the award show, you're going for the CMAs, you're going to win gold. That's the plan. You've got to work together and you have to decide, okay, what result does this case need to win? What do we need? And now figure out what is the best way to put that forward. And do you really need, for example, do you need to give an absolute sales number? Or would a share increase number describe the dead dragon well enough, but not give away something that the client isn't comfortable with? It has to be, it's a co-production. Ideas are a co-production between the agency and the client. Case studies are to work together, figure out what the client is comfortable sharing, and be honest. Like, without this result, we can't win. Now figure out how can we express it.
And clients are competitive and love to brag, so they'll share more than you think they will. So Shelley's advice is sound. Percent increases are easy.
Yeah, fine. Like, there's an index for that. There are many ways to accurately convey results, describe your dead dragon without giving away trade secrets for your client. And if you work together, you will figure it out.
Great. And what gives you the confidence when you're creating these entries? What's your secret sauce?
Oh my goodness. So, okay, first of all, yes, we are passionate about our ideas. There is no question about it. We love our ideas. And the great thing about cases is how the movie ends. You have the results. Your idea worked. So that should give you confidence. Go forward and kill it. But honestly, the truth is we're neurotic about cases. We sweat the details to a ridiculous degree, and we sit in the award show on the edge of our seats. We want to win. So confidence mingled with a fairly high degree of neuroses is how I would describe it.
Awesome. Okay, and one more question, and then we'll continue on. But why do you think awards matter? I want to hear the agency perspective and the client perspective.
So, creatively awarded work is more effective work. The results are in. So much research has been done on this topic. The old days of, well, I've got to trade off results versus creativity, it's over. We know, and this is based on, some like the huge IPA database and analysis of that database, that creatively awarded work is on average twice as effective as work that doesn't win awards. So everybody should be going after it. Awards set the standard. That's the bar. And it makes us all better when we reach for something that is hard to achieve. It gives us something to strive for. And great ideas should be famous. And the clients and the agencies that worked on those ideas should be famous too. This is one of the things that allows us to recruit the best people, to retain the best people, which makes it more likely that we're going to do more amazing work in the future. And we can just keep on building from there. Awards matter in every possible way.
Words certainly do matter. Jennifer, do you have anything to add?
I got kicked out and I came back, so I don't know what the final question was, but I will just end with, I heard Shelley at the very end just talking about awards matter, and I'll just build off of that, because from a client perspective, I genuinely believe in the business and brand building power of big ideas. And so on that note, I agree, awards matter.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for lending, your expertise today. Great perspectives. I think that's certainly some really good key takeaways. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. And as mentioned, when working on getting those results, it is something that, you can do those percentages, and there's ways to still, show that you're reaching your objectives. As mentioned, you really want to paint that picture showing how your strategy is reflected in the creative, and then the results, tie it all together in that nice picture. in our judging, on our judging side, you get 10 marks for each of these sections. And so you really want to make sure you are focusing on, answering those questions and making your campaign extra special, that dragon story. I know Ben mentioned as well, creating those, a sizzle reel of some kind. Again, it's not necessary for submitting. You can still submit without, but it certainly can help, because, people do like to look at that creative first. I mentioned that there's a submission guide on our website, which you can review and, download, which has all the definitions and details on. And now I'm going to quickly show some slides, about the awards show, from 2022. Again, here's some pictures and here's some more pictures. It really is a massive celebration. So all this hard work that you're doing now, once you get that gold or silver or bronze, but we're talking about winning golds here, you can celebrate it at this massive occasion in front of, around 1,000 people, and be up on stage. We are, my key takeaways, we're running out of time, but there's a couple questions I want to get to. Is, download that strategic guide, know your category. Ben mentioned that, know what you are submitting, know the discipline, work with your clients to ensure you can share results and how to work best together. Assets matter, and follow that attachment guideline as well, because, people don't want to watch a 10-minute video, 2 minutes max. So let's make sure we're sticking to that. Make sure you have a wordsmith or someone who can really write that entry and answer those questions in a non-boring way. And then, email myself at the awards at cma.ca with any questions. Either myself or someone from the awards team will help connect with the senior judge, whatever needs to be done. Okay, now I'm going to invite our speakers back on to just quickly answer here a couple questions. So someone's asking about confidential results, who will see it and if it will be made public. I'll answer that. No, the judges see the results. We will not publish anything. You actually write your own description that goes on our website if you win gold, to try and avoid anyone feeling nervous about that. So we know exactly what we can and cannot share. Someone asked, how early should I start planning and working on my entry? Does anyone want to answer that?
As early as possible. Now is good. It takes a long time.
Absolutely. I agree. Start working on it now. Start, because if you want to get some assets together in, people to approve things, that certainly does take time. Someone said, it sounds like a case study video is critical to setting up work to break through the other submissions. Can you share any considerations for creating videos, or any notable things that past winners have done really well? I think you guys would have good perspective on that.
Yeah, I mean, I could maybe say I was the one that brought the videos up. I think what you want to do with the video is not just share the creative work. You want to actually tell the entire story arc that Shelley was talking about. So you want to use the video to almost a shortcut to having to read the written submission. So really able to go from, the objectives all the way through to the results, and that slaying of the dragon story in the 2 minutes. And definitely it's correct. Nothing over 2 minutes. You don't want to bore, as Shelley said, the jury into submission.
Awesome. Do either of you have anything else to add to that? Perfect. So the last question before we do wrap up is, what would you want to leave everyone with here today? Your key takeaway for writing this entry to win gold. What is your one final parting word?
Mine would be awards matter. Winning is important. It's important for you. It's important for your client. It's important for the agency. This is how we get better at what we do and do better and better work over time. So reach for it. go for it. Make your work amazing and win and enjoy the accolades.
Couldn't agree more.
I would add that, marketing and advertising is central to contemporary culture, and it elevates everyone's thinking when we encounter good work, ideas that we hadn't considered in terms of approaches, audiences that we hadn't considered. And I think when we share that internally as a community, we all end up raising our game.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you all so much. That's all the time that we have. We do have an FAQ page as well on our awards homepage, as well as in that submission guide, with some other questions that I see there. But and you can always reach out to me and I'll answer directly to any of those inquiries. You've already taken the right step by being part of this session today. So again, really appreciate our speakers and their thought leadership and helping to really help validate the awards experience. And, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Best, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.